Good morning, this is Shelby Law with the Great Basin Fire Potential Briefing for Tuesday, August 25th, 2020. As far as fire potential impacts go for the next couple of days, we're still looking at some pretty good thunderstorm activity today in Idaho, northern Nevada, and over the higher elevations of Utah, especially across the east. Some breezy winds will start to move in today, but become a little bit stronger on Wednesday and Thursday across southern Nevada and then up into southern Utah by Thursday, with some lingering showers and thunderstorms across the north Wednesday and decreasing to some extent by Thursday. Taking a look at our smoke this morning, the image on the left is the smoke for this morning, and the image on the right shows where we're expecting the smoke to move in by this afternoon. So some clearing by this afternoon, but also a bigger chance for some smoke to move into southern central Nevada there. Yesterday was a pretty active day across mainly northern Nevada and even up into northern Utah. Some of these thunderstorms, even here across central Nevada and northern Utah, were occurring this morning, and many of these storms were overnight last night. So some precipitation definitely with some of these storms, especially across central Nevada, and then some over in Utah were definitely on the drier side. And then this little cluster that moved through western Wyoming as well did have a little bit of precip with it. So initial attack has been definitely picking up the last couple of days with all this lightning activity that's moved in, and we definitely expect that to continue, and certainly expecting to pick up some lightning today, or some fires today from the lightning overnight, and then we'll see that pick up over Idaho as the lightning increases there as well. Observed precip for the past 7 days here. We're looking at the observed amounts on the left with some heavier amounts across the south in the Arizona Strip. This doesn't include the precipitation from yesterday that we saw across Nevada. And then the percent of normal over the past 30 days still showing very dry conditions over Nevada, Utah, and much of Idaho. The ERCs have come down a bit, especially across southern Utah, where we've seen some more precipitation over the past couple of days. Some of these values in Nevada will come down certainly after that precipitation from yesterday. And the values should continue to come down even across northern Utah. Even though we haven't seen much precip, just the higher relative humidities should bring those down at least slightly. But as the drier air mass moves in for the weekend, or for the later in the work week, those values should rebound once again. ERC charts for a couple of PSAs are shown here. For the north central Utah mountains, we can see those values are still setting records for the time of year. They have begun to come down just a little bit, but not much of a dramatic drop at all. Still very high fire danger in northern Utah. West central Utah as well, still setting records for the time of year, but we have seen a downward trend over the last couple of days with some hit or miss precip and slightly higher relative humidities. This morning's satellite imagery showing that high pressure centered just to the east of the Great Basin. We are seeing quite a bit of moisture moving north through Nevada up into Idaho for expected thunderstorm activity there today. And then also some lingering moisture over Utah, which could result in some higher elevation thunderstorms later this afternoon. And we also are watching this little low off the coast here. So for today, we do have high risk issued for all of Idaho, western Wyoming, and then this just corner of northeast Nevada. And we're expecting those storms to be a mix of wet and dry, but certainly with as dry as conditions have been up there, looking for an increase in initial attack with that increased lightning activity. Some of our PSAs in Utah have gone to yellow temporarily, as well as northeast Nevada with some of that precipitation. The yellows won't last long, but at least a temporary decrease in some fire potential. So for this afternoon, looking for thunderstorms over northeast Nevada, much of Idaho, western Wyoming, and then we'll see a few isolated storms pop up over Utah. Drier air moving into southern and western Nevada today. Some breezy winds here on the right over southern Nevada, of course with strong outflow winds associated with any of those thunderstorms today in Idaho and northern Utah. On Wednesday, we'll see some drier air moving back into the Great Basin as this little low begins to move towards northern California and ushering then an increase in southwest flow in that drier air. So decreasing thunderstorm activity but we'll still see some lingering across the north. So thunderstorm activity on Wednesday is going to be limited mainly to Idaho and western Wyoming, and maybe just an isolated storm or two in eastern Utah. Some gusty winds still in place over southern Nevada and starting to move into western Utah by Wednesday afternoon. And then more of the same is expected for Thursday, with maybe some continued thunderstorm activity across the north and east with drier air over Nevada. We can see some of our PSAs in Utah and Nevada already moving back into brown with the drier air moving in. So where we're expecting thunderstorms on Thursday, higher elevations of Idaho, eastern Idaho particularly, western Wyoming, maybe just some of the mountains of central and eastern Utah. And we can see some gustier winds moving into much of Utah, southwest Utah, and the higher elevations of northeast Utah as well. And then gusty outflow winds where we'll see any of those thunderstorms. Lighter winds over western Nevada on Thursday. 3-day precipitation totals shown here, really highlighting precip chances for the higher elevations of Idaho and western Wyoming, and even across southwest Idaho and northeast Nevada. This is just what we're expecting over the next couple of days. A light precip amounts over Utah and pretty dry over southern Nevada. On Friday, a drier westerly flow moves into Idaho. Continued dryness across Nevada and Utah. We will begin to see a little bit of moisture returning from the south, most likely just remaining in place over southern and eastern Utah. And on Saturday, that moisture moves a little bit further northward for possibly some increasing thunderstorm activity once again over central and eastern Utah, but we'll still stay on the dry side over Idaho and western Nevada. The trough moves into the northern Rockies by Sunday. This will bring cooler and wetter conditions further north, but to the Great Basin, still looking for dry conditions, possibly some cooler temperatures, however, but maybe some lingering thunderstorms over Utah. Monday, continued dry conditions, but our flow switches to out of the north as that trough really plunges into the Midwest here, so we expect to see cooler temperatures by early next week. The 7-day totals are really just highlighting what we're expecting in the short term, today and tomorrow, mainly over Idaho and western Wyoming, with drier conditions over Utah and southern and western Nevada. The extended forecast going into the first week of September is putting really cold air mass into the northern third of the U.S., but with some warmer temperatures across the west coast. And then below normal temperatures, or below normal chances for precipitation, are still expected over the Great Basin. This concludes today's fire potential briefing. Please check back tomorrow for the latest updates.